Hey, what's going on, guys? Hobby Japan and Orange Cat Industry once again come together to bring us an awesome mecha model. Here we've got a new version of the Estailev, a kit that I have taken a look at before, the original blue version. This is the Rollout White version. Really cool model kit, quite large. Really super cool design. If you guys have not seen the video on the blue version, the original version of the Estailev, check it out. This is also very similar to the series of X-Career model kits, which are the smaller SD kind of kits from Orange Cat Industries. I've reviewed a number of those before. Definitely check out those as well. I really enjoyed those kits also. This is large, and as you can see, a pretty big box, but it's not necessarily anything like quite as complicated as like a master grade. It's more sort of like a full mechanics like type of kit, sort of like a large high grade basically, but there is a lot of plastic in here. I mean, it's a big box. As you can see, some really cool accessories and weapons and everything in there as well. So really fun, really cool kits. There's a couple of other versions of this kit too. There's a red cassowary version that comes with different weaponry. I'm not sure if I'll be reviewing that one, but that one has already been released as well. And there's another black version coming out that I forget the name of at the moment, but that one's going to be coming out pretty soon too. So check out those too if you're interested. But for now, let's go ahead and check out the Rollout White color version. So we got some really cool artwork here on the front of the mecha that you can see with all the markings and everything on it. I think that this is going to include waterslide decals for all those markings as well. If I remember correctly, the original version did. And there you can see the Hobby Japan and Orange Cat Industry marking logos down there. That's the Asort Assembly is like kind of the series sort of that these are released in. And all of our titling here looks really cool. You can see this is the Gift Gravity Invert Flight Thruster unit there. And this is the full package edition. I don't know if there is any other edition available other than the full package edition, but you can see this also at 1/100 scale mecha model. And then here on the bottom, we've got the artwork for this. So you can see there's the front artwork there with the shield and rifle and the sword stored in the shield. It's really cool back artwork there. And then going around to the other side, you can see images of the kit here, how that's going to look front and back. And in some action poses here, it has that big bazooka too, which is really cool. The sword weapon, as I said, and there you can see it paired with the blue version. And it looks like there's the waterslide decals, so we are going to have those included. And here's a look at kind of everything that you have included out of the box there, a stand included as well, which is really cool. So let's get it popping and see what we got inside here. There's our stand right off the bat. It's in like kind of like a smoke clear, the base plate for the stand anyway. So that looks nice. Underneath all of our other stuff, here's our decal sheet, which is quite large. This is actually bigger than what I was expecting. That's really cool. So let's take a look at this decal sheet here. You can see we got a bunch of markings in red, white, yellow, and purple. A lot of really cool details on there. You got these lining bits. All the purple ones look really nice. And so just got a bunch of markings here for this one on our very large decal sheet. That's awesome. And then our instruction booklet here, which has the titling and logo there on the front, some QR codes there on the back. On the inside here, again, just kind of showing the artwork and some stuff there. Over here on the next page, our parts list. That's going to continue on to the next page as well. And then kind of the breakdown of the construction, how we're going to be building this in sections, and then we get right into it. So it does have some parts here highlighted in pink. Most everything's in black and white. You do have some bits highlighted there in pink just to show you kind of where you can pay attention to some of the connections here on some of those parts. So that's pretty nice. And if we get to the middle pages here, the center of the manual has some more artwork and images here. Artwork of it kind of without all the equipment and everything. You got some specs, details about the weapons. I love that the bazooka is in this kind of dark, kind of olive drab green color. That's really cool. And there you can see some more artwork of it right there. Moving along through the rest of the manual, we get to the display base here at the end. At the very back side here, we have the color guide right there, and no decal guide, I think, right? And if I remember correctly, we had that with the first one too. Or even here on like the color guide, it doesn't show the decals on the kit here in this particular image, but it does show some special paint, I guess, that is available that you can get. So that looks really nice. It'd be cool to be able to get my hands on some of that paint. But a couple of other bits we do have in here is some magnets. These are actually used in the shield to help hold the shield to the arm, if I remember correctly, and if I'm checking the manual right. And then we also have this LED unit, which is a push style LED that is going to actually go in the neck connection, and that should light up the heads. But let's get into the runners here real quick. Like I said, we do have our clear, like smoke clear base plate, which looks really nice, super high glossy there. And then this runner of parts here, it's actually runner CH, which is going to be the arm connection pieces there for that. Runners A and B going to be the first couple of purple runners here for the frame and joint type parts there. And then runner C is going to be in white, which is going to be our main color for the armor. And the runners are all going to switch back and forth basically between purple, white, purple, white, purple, white, with some small variations. As runner D here, as you can see, we have two of, is back to purple for some more joint parts. Runner E is in a light, sort of light lavender gray kind of color here. The runner F is back to some more white parts, and we do have two of runner F there. Runner G, some more parts here in purple, and one part fell off the runner there. As you can see, we do have two of the H runner here as well. Runner I, a larger runner with a bunch of larger pieces for the frame on here as well, probably mostly for the legs. It looks like we've got two of the I runner there also, and two of the J runner. And again, yeah, it looks like these are probably mostly in for the legs. As we move on to runner K here, some more white armor pieces. We've got two of these as well. And then runner L, we also have two of in that lighter gray color there. And runner M, some more pieces here in white. Some of the smaller pieces there. Looks like probably a lot of those for the head. Runner N, some more pieces here in purple. Runner O, we have two of for some more purple pieces, and we're almost to the end of those. Actually, that was the last of our purple pieces there for the kit. Runner P, though, some more white armor pieces, some larger ones there. And then we got some small runners here. Runner Q is a few pieces in white. Runner R, we have two of. One's in plain clear, one's in clear blue, so you'll have the option as to which clear parts you want to use for the kit. And then runner S is in a clear fluorescent green there for some camera bits. Now we're getting into the weapons parts, which, as you'll notice, are all separated onto their own runners here at the end. Here's runner SP1, which is going to be for the large axe weapon there in black. And all the rest of these are on the W runner. So like W1, the one's kind of hard to see. It is there, and then maybe it's easier to see the 2 on this one there. You can see W2. So W1 is going to be these clear fluorescent green parts there for like the beam saber effects. W2 here in black is for the actual physical sword there, which looks really cool. Runner W3 here in this dark green color is the parts for the bazooka. And same thing here for runner 4 for the magazines for the bazooka. We've got two of those. Runners 5 and 6 are in this dark blue color here, parts mostly for the rifle and shield parts. And then runners 7 and 8 here, some more shield parts. Runner W7 in white. W8, our last runner here, some more parts in that fluorescent green there. Looks really cool. That's it for all the runners. A whole bunch of stuff in here. As you can see, it's going to be a pretty big kit. Let's go ahead and get it put together. All right, guys, here it is, all built up. Quite the big kit here, as you can see. If you missed the live stream build, you can go back and check that out. But it's an awesome build process here for this one. As you can see, it's just like a super detailed design. Most of the like high detail that you're seeing is mostly just coming from like all the part separation that it has. It's an interesting design in that it doesn't really have a whole lot of actual surface detail in like panel lines or details that we're used to seeing like on a lot of Gunpla, but it's just got a lot of parts and angles and stuff, sort of like the unicorn in that sense, except instead of being all white, here we have a few different colors kind of all going together. But super cool design, obviously going to be very back heavy there with the gift unit attached onto the back skirt, but we got some really cool accessories here, so let's go ahead and get into it. And just to give you guys a size comparison here compared to the master grade Vidar, you can see it's quite sizable. Not going to be like double the size or anything like that, but definitely quite a bit larger than a standard master grade model kit there, just to give you a sense of the overall size. With the head height, it's coming up to be about 23, 24 centimeters in total height there. But yeah, obviously, despite that massive weight that it has on the backside, it can still stand up, which is pretty amazing, I gotta say. That said, we do also have the display base here for it in this kind of like smoke clear, really nice color there for that. We have a couple of points of adjustment on this. This is gonna work pretty much like a Bandai action base. You just undo that lever and then you can adjust the angle of the main arm right here like that, and then just press that in to lock it in place. Press that in to lock it from going any further down. I guess you can still slide it up. Anyway, and then here at the top, we have a little button peg that when you push one way, you're then able to rotate the main attachment point. And then when you press it back the other way, it's then locked into place and this won't move any further. Now for the attachment point here on the top, we have a couple of these 3 different size like fork style adapters that can fit on the top, but we're actually not going to use those for this kit. Fortunately, you can just remove this part off here, and this peg is what's going to fit directly up underneath the waist of the unit, so it should fit just directly onto there and should be a pretty good fit. But as for our hand options here on the kit, you can see I've got the closed fist. They're just going to be fixed posed hands there. We've also got a set of weapon holding hands here, which are also going to have a peg which plugs into the handle of whichever weapon we're going to be holding in the hand. And then we have a set of open hands as well, but the open hands, you don't have the full parts for the open hands, so you will have to swap the back part of the closed fist onto the open hands in order to use those. Kind of annoying, kind of wish they would have just included a couple more parts to have the hands in full and not have to part swap anything. So not really a fan of that aspect of it. But as far as what we actually have to hold in the hands, we have some really awesome options, which are basically going to be the same as what we have with the original Estailev. But here is the rocket bazooka. Now the front part will extend out like that, and the main handle will just fold down like that. And you can see there's that tab hole for plugging into the hand. There is a clear green part there for the camera lens on that. Super cool design. You don't have the full parts to make 3 of these ammo containers right there. Although in theory, if you had 2 of the kit, you could attach a 3rd one onto there, sort of like the Astray Blue frame, I think has a similar rocket launcher. But really cool design for that, and quite large here, as you can see, with the full length of that coming out to about almost 21 centimeters in length, which is taller than like your standard master grade Gundam kit. Up next then, we've got the rifle here, which again is just going to fit into the hand. We have clear parts there for the sides. It kind of fits out both sides there, and a clear part for the main camera up in there, which is kind of hard to see. This doesn't have any gimmicks or moving parts or anything like that, but still a super cool design here for the rifle. We've also got our large axe, which again is very large and again features a hole there in the handle for plugging into the hand, but you're definitely probably going to want to use that secondary open hand to like help support this, just because it is very long and it is going to be a little bit heavy on the hand. It might be a little bit taxing just in terms of the weight, but let's check the overall length of this one. Is a little bit over 26 centimeters in full length for that. It's a shame that it's an all black. Would have been nice if we had like some silver parts here for like the blade part or something like that. So that's a little bit unfortunate. And the same goes for the sword, which is stored here on the back side of the shield. So the sword will be able to just pull out from the shield there like that. And you can see this is just also all molded in black, also quite large as well. And just compared to the height of the Estailev itself, it comes out to about the same overall height, so really long there. And again, you can see the tab hole in the handle, but still a really cool weapon. Would have been nice if that sword blade was again in silver, but that's all right. Here for the shield, you have those cool clear green parts on there, and the shield does also extend like that, so you have a little bit of that extension feature exposing more of the clear green part inside, and this is just going to fit into the back side of the arm. And lastly, we have our clear green effect parts here for the beam sabers. So the beam sabers are stored in the gift unit right there, and they're kind of hard. Well, I was going to say they were hard to get in. They obviously weren't hard to get out there. It might be easier to get it back in this time. Oh, it's because this part is like a little bit separated like that. But when I was first putting them in during the live stream, I kind of had trouble getting them actually in there. But anyway, pretty standard beam saber handles here that the effect part fits into, and then looks really nice there in that fluorescent green. So that's pretty much it. That said, we do have this LED unit, which it will fit into the neck in order to light up the head. If you have a battery for that, the battery is not included. I don't have a battery for that, so I can't test it out. That said, it probably works like okay, but yeah, in theory that just fits into the neck joint and would light up the clear parts here on the head and would look pretty cool, I think. But we can talk about the kit here in a little bit more detail. For the most part, you don't really have many seam lines on the kit. There will be one here on the white part on the forearm, and then up around on the backpack on these two halves of this part of the backpack, there's a seam line right there, and then one on the center of the backpack, and that's really kind of about it. There's maybe like a couple little spots on some of the mechanical aspects where you might have a little bit of a seam, but not a whole lot. One other accessory I guess that I could mention, but just the gift unit here is removable, and if you didn't want to have that, you can actually just plug up the holes there on the back of the waist where that plugs into, and it's amazing how that really kind of changes the silhouette quite drastically. I was mentioning during the live stream that I feel like just like kind of the overall shape and proportions of this mecha, I keep wanting to say mobile suit, but it reminds me a lot of this Nanju. I think it's because of the backpack units looking like that, and overall it's got kind of quite long legs, so in that sense, and these like kind of big shoulder parts, reminds me a lot of the Shinanju, just kind of overall. I think it would look really good in red. Actually, there is a red version of it that I think does look pretty cool. But yeah, the gift unit certainly adds a lot here to the back. These parts are movable there, and the main kind of sections of it have a few different points of articulation. They're just connected via a ball joint right there. As you can see, that just kind of popped off, but you can rotate that around. But basically you're just able to move those parts around to just kind of position them as you need. Overall, it's just a really cool kind of accessory, sort of. I don't even know if it's necessarily, if you would call that an accessory. It's just kind of part of the kit, but the way that it's advertised is that it's like a sort of an optional unit. You do have a clear part here in the chest. There's a little tiny bit of that clear blue poking out right there. Most of the clear parts on the body are just going to be here in the head. The super cool head design there with some really small parts. That little purple part there on the side of the head is a separate little piece, and there's a little vent below that. That's a separate piece that fit into this larger piece here, which makes up like kind of the head fin, like ear fin there on the side, and the little gray piece on the top is a separate piece. So there's a good amount of part separation in there. And as for the articulation, it's also pretty nice. The head won't go really up that much, but you can point it down to there. Here in the midsection, we've got a little bit of ab crunch here, forward and back. Again, not a whole lot, and it's probably going to be weighed down, I would imagine, by the backpack. For right now, it's kind of staying okay, but the back is a little bit heavy with these backpack parts on there, which will of course move forward and back, side to side. The shoulders will swing to the front a little bit here. This fin on the side of the shoulders will open up like that. The shoulder itself can move up independently from the arm, and we can bring the arm up to a little bit more than 90 degrees there. Otherwise, the arm's gonna work pretty normally. Rotation at the bicep, a double joint in the elbow to give you a nice, pretty full bend there. And the wrist is on a ball joint here. The front skirts are attached via ball joints, and the same thing for the back skirts here as well. This middle part of the hip section does tend to pop off pretty easily, so you may want to just glue that in place so that it doesn't fall off and get lost anywhere. The back skirts also will move independently on ball joints, and some nice part separation even here on the back skirts. Those look really cool. There's no gimmick to the hip joint other than just kind of a standard rotation here at the top of the thigh. You can bring the leg out to the side relatively far there. If we bring the front skirt up, you can see we can bring the leg up to about 90 degrees perpendicular to the body there. A double joint in the knee has some really nice separation, so you'll see that thigh armor is going to move when we bend the knee. So the thigh armor slides, and then also the knee armor will separate here when you see once we get to the second joint. That pops out, and then this little bit of armor right here actually does move as well, but you have to move that manually. It doesn't move together with the knee joint. But some really nice separation of these armor pieces here when the knee bends. And here for the feet, some nice detail up underneath there. The ankle kind of has like a nice little bit of a gap there between the foot and the lower leg. Sometimes that can be like too much, but in this case, I think it's a good amount to be able to let the foot have some nice room to move. Side to side rotation there, not an issue. Front, you can move the foot up to the front to about there. The toe will move independently from the foot there like that, and then backwards you can bring the foot kind of pretty far back like that. So some really nice movement there at the ankle, which could be a problem because the kit's really tall and top heavy, and so you want those ankles to be able to support the weight. And you can see that double joint that we have there in the ankle. If you move it around too much, it might loosen up, and you probably want to avoid that. So you may want to either tighten up that joint ahead of time or just keep the kit up on a base so that you're not having to rely on the ankles, you know, maintaining their strength, because I feel like over time they might start to weaken up a little bit. But on that note, let's go ahead and try out some different poses here with this. Most of the posing that I feel like looks best on this kit is going to be aerial posing up on that base. I mean, the base is included, so you might as well take advantage of that. That said, you know, especially without the gift unit attached onto the back skirt, you have a much easier time doing like posing on the ground with this, just if you don't have that added weight attached to the back of the hips that you have to try to deal with or balance out. But just because of the size of the kit and some of the joints aren't quite as tight as you would like them to be, you might have a little bit of an issue where like you might find the joints being like a little bit too weak. But I would just recommend just tightening up those joints. You won't have any issue. And then if you notice any parts like where you're trying to move the kit have a tendency to just kind of like pop off, especially if they're non-moving parts, again, I would just recommend just gluing those. So easy fixes to some of these like very, very minor issues. Overall, it's a super cool kit, really unique, really nice size too. It's quite large. And so for those reasons, I would definitely recommend this one. That and the array of weaponry that you have included, the shield and sword and axe combo, super cool. The rocket bazooka is really cool. The beam rifle that it has. And then just whether you consider it an accessory or just kind of part of the main kit itself, but the gift unit, like the flight unit that it's got there that attaches to the back skirt, is also pretty dang cool. So it's just got a really super cool, super unique design. But as I was mentioning earlier, it doesn't really have a whole lot of like surface detail on the armor, so some people may not like that, but there's certainly plenty of room to add detail if you wanted to do some scribing or something on it. But I think that's just like not really part of the design. Obviously, looking at this, it's obviously very visually detailed. It's just most of that's coming from the part separation. coloration. So I mean, you could change up the color scheme. If you painted this in all one color like the unicorn, I think it would end up looking kind of very similar. With the way the armor is designed, very kind of angular like that. If it was all white, it would look a lot like the unicorn, but with like the overall silhouette and proportions, something sort of similar to the Shinanju. So it would be kind of like an interesting, like kind of amalgamation of those two designs, I feel like, but certainly would make for an interesting project. But I really enjoy this kit. Now building this for the second time. I do have the new black and gold version of this that'll be building up in the near future, which features a little bit different parts on it and some different weaponry, and also looks really, really cool. So I'm looking forward to building up that one, and hope you guys are looking forward to checking out that review as well. But if you guys want to check out this kit in its multiple different forms, I believe at the moment that they're all sold out here at USA Gundam Store, but I would just make sure to tick that box on there to get a reminder in case we get more, and then that way you'll get an email if we're able to get a restock or any further stock of these, because you definitely don't want to miss out. It's definitely just like a really unique kit that's not produced in a very large quantity, so it's not going to be one that's going to be very highly available. So I would recommend picking it up if you get the chance for sure. But that's it for the review today, guys. Thanks so much for checking it out. Let me know if you have any other further questions about the kit, and like I said, check out that link in the video description to USA Gundam Store. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for all of your support, making sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, making sure that you're subscribed if you're not subscribed yet. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Until next time, hope y'all are having a great day. See y'all later. Bye, guys.